Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Hurd. I'm a classroom teacher, kindergarten teacher, also a health coach, a life coach, and a yoga teacher. And I'm so grateful to be here with you and sharing what I've learned because historically, I haven't been someone who has had balance or healthiness in my life. So I'm really excited to share what I've learned. And my business name is Wellness Lemonade. And I chose that because it was really wellness practices that enabled me to make lemonade of the mess that was my life. And that's truly why I chose it. So I'm just going to share my screen. And let's see right here so that you can look at my slides and we can get started. So creating a happy medium, finding balance with health and happiness in teaching. And I hope you're not, but if you're a teacher, there's a good chance you're feeling overwhelmed. It might look something like this: never-ending to-do lists, maybe pain in your body for no medical reason, feeling busy but never feeling like you're getting enough done, feeling tired, so tired, permanently tired, not feeling like you're doing a good enough job at home or at work. And it can also feel like paralysis, just like there's so much to do and you almost don't know where to start. And so you're looking at your to-do list, wanting to get things done, but feeling like there's too much and you don't know where to begin. So then you might get mad at yourself, right? Then you feel worse. Then the to-do list grows. It's just a negative spiral. So if any of this is hitting home, I have good news. It doesn't have to be that way. And I was an expert at no balance. And I really think that I hit rock bottom. And there are certain lessons in my life that I've had to keep relearning. And I've worked my way out of it. So there's so many tools I can teach you. And it's because teachers are my friends. They're my people. I'm so grateful to the teachers that my daughter had growing up. And I've been a teacher for 20 years. And I got to the feeling where I didn't feel that being a teacher was doable. No way within 40 hours. It was just so much. And so I feel like for a long time, I lost that spark as to why I wanted to be a teacher. And I want no one to feel that way again. So just grab a notebook, grab some paper, a pen, and just jot down what feels good that you could try. So I went into teaching because I loved kids. I babysat a lot as I was a teenager. And in the 20 years, I've taught most grades from kindergarten to 8th grade. And I was a reading teacher for a long time. I taught at the school where my daughter went to elementary school. So it was really good. Life was good. I was happy. But within that time, probably about 10 years ago, I just felt this palpable change in teaching. We started to focus on assessments more, data, PLCs, and then the school shootings. And I started to feel overwhelmed and such anxiety at work. And then personally, I found myself going through a second divorce. My mom got dementia and started to significantly go through those stages fast. It was really scary. And my body started to take the toll. I felt pain all over my body and I just felt like I was broken. You can see in the picture on the left, it was one of the days that we had to go support my mom. And it took all I could to sit in the car on the ride there. And so when I got there, that's me laying on the floor and my daughter hugging me. I just couldn't even sit. And I continued to not take care of myself. I was eating crap food at my desk, trying to work through or being on the computer. I had GI issues, so much worry and overwhelm, pelvic pain because, and I'm sorry if that feels like TMI, but I was clenching my jaw and sometimes my fists during the day and my core. And so your pelvic floor is connected to your floor and it hurts when your muscles are really tight. I felt like I was just simply surviving. I also had poor boundaries during this time. I was still a Girl Scout leader. And then one day at recess duty, I was kindergarten recess duty, a cop car went by. And I'm like, okay, I'm just kind of keeping an eye on that. And then a second cop car went by. So I have 75 kids at recess. Some of the kids don't speak English. And then there was this weird announcement over the loudspeaker that said, if anyone has an emergency, please call the office. You know, we have been just like you, there's so much training if there's a lockdown, but also what if the front office is compromised? And so I really thought that maybe something was wrong. So I took the kids behind the school. We were hiding, working our way up to the building, wondering what to do. And everything was fine. A teacher called 911 by accident. But it's the first day that I started having overwhelming anxiety at school, and I started having panic attacks. Things got worse. I started just gaining more weight. My whole body was hurting. 8th grade graduation of my daughter in the middle. You can see I should have been happy she won an award, but it was so hard for me to even smile. And I really started to have dark thoughts. I did even think of suicide. I didn't have a plan or go that far, but I can tell you that I loved being a teacher. It made me so happy, and I felt like I couldn't do the job anymore, that I wasn't good enough. I just couldn't swing it, couldn't handle it. And I thought that the pain, the overwhelming pain that I felt would never go away. And I didn't see any hope. So what I did do, I thought, I just need a change. I cut off a foot of my hair. You can see the picture on the right, that's when it was growing back in. That didn't help. That actually made me feel worse. And so finally, then I asked for a leave of absence from my school. And you think magically I would start feeling better because now I would have some time. That summer on the couch, I was on the couch. I couldn't get up. It hurt so much to sit or to stand, to walk. And I really was just laying on the couch for most of the summer. And my daughter was like, Mom, can you take me to the beach or let's do something? And I couldn't. And so I literally learned that the lesson that I hadn't taken care of myself, so much so that I was now not able to take care of the people that meant the most to me. And that was a really hard lesson to learn. And so I needed to figure out a big change, a real change. So I started to change things up. I know I needed to invest in myself because I was trying to save money. And so I got a different doctor. I started acupuncture. I got a health coach because I knew that my habits weren't healthy and I was contributing. All of my doctors said that everything wrong with me was stress related, right? And so having a health coach was one of the biggest things I did because she was wonderful. And every week we would talk and connect, and she would check on what we had agreed on for me to work on. And I would learn new information on how to take care of myself. It was a game changer. I also got a nutritionist because I didn't know, I know I needed to eat differently, but I wasn't exactly sure how. I also got a personal trainer. If I could get myself to the gym, I just knew how to walk on a treadmill. That was it. I felt so overwhelmed and like shame, like I didn't belong there. And I just felt, again, paralyzed, like I didn't know what to do. So slowly, those changes started to snowball. I started going to Reiki and yoga. I went to a 10-day silent retreat to learn Vipassana meditation. No one talked to me. I didn't speak to anyone for 10 days. I knew I had to tackle the stress. And so I really worked my butt off. And I would talk to everyone that would talk to me about how to make changes. And I read every book I could get my hands on stress, on habits, how to keep good habits, overwhelm, balance. And then the really cool thing is I stayed in touch with some former teacher friends and colleagues, and they were asking me what I was doing. So I wanted to share. And so I started naturally sharing that, but that led to coaching and word of mouth that grew into other clients. So that was a really beautiful thing to come out of that time. And so I decided to go back after a couple of years. Well, I went back to this fall, right? 2020. We all know the soup sandwich that was. It was really difficult. Also, I went back into kindergarten. I'd worked with kindergarten kids before as a reading teacher, but I had never been a classroom teacher in kindergarten. And we were in person. So you can imagine how that would go with 5-year-olds and masks. Also not hugging kids, right? They're not supposed to play together. I felt in my heart that that wasn't developmentally appropriate. And so that would weigh on me, and just learning a whole new grade level. I still had my mom and my stepdad, but they have gotten worse. And then this year, I didn't expect it, but I'm going through another divorce. And really this year threw me for a loop, but I can't imagine having survived without knowing the tools that I learned a couple of years ago. So I will say, guys, excuse me for swearing, but this shit works. When you know better, you can do better. And I just feel like I can't stay quiet now because teachers are asked to do so much and be so much to everybody. But wellness is not a part of PD. And it's wellness tools that saved me. So I feel like it is doable, but we need to help each other learn that. So I'm on a mission to change that. So here's a screenshot of one of my favorite days teaching remotely, because sometimes we try to be in person, but sometimes we would have to quarantine. So I was teaching remotely, and of course I wanted to protect the identity of my students. So you can't see all of it, but here I have a sibling joining. Kid is picking his nose. And in the center, you see a dinosaur that swallowed my student and came to class in his place. It was a really fun moment. And I feel like teaching should be more of that, right? More lighthearted, more enjoyable, less pressure, and perhaps even laughter and fun. So my goals for you today are to kind of take some of that energy and then talk about having better health, finding more joy, feeling hope that balance is possible, knowing some really specific tools to move you along in your transformation, wherever you are, but just to feel more balance. And then to be reminded of that spark that drew you to teaching, right? So that you can still feel like it's doable and want to be able to stay in it and have it be fun. So then you're feeling better at school, but then also at home. So just jot notes on what feels good, and even just think about what's one thing that feels manageable and doable that's going to start you on that right path. Okay, so often it's not doing more of something that's going to make you feel better. It's changing how you think. So number one, you are not selfish for putting yourself first. And if it helps, think of how you're modeling to your kids or your students how you're taking care of yourself. You love them and you want them to take care of themselves one day, but we need to show them how now. Or here's another way to think about it, and this might sting a little bit, but do you want your own personal kids or your students to go through what you're going through right now and to feel that overwhelm? Remember, they learn from us. They often copy us and emulate what we do. And know that when you are better, all others are served better. So if you're happy, healthy, and balanced, you can give them more when you're at your best. There's a book called The Upside of Stress by Kelly McGonigal, and it's really great in talking about how we think about stress. So she references many studies that were done where they looked at people who had a lot of stress, people that didn't have a lot of stress, and then the people who had stress, if they thought it was bad or if they thought it was good. It really makes a difference how you think about stress. So yes, stress can affect our immune system, our nervous system, but it's truly your body's way of trying to help you rise to the occasion of being ready to handle whatever needs handling. So it's your heart racing, kind of feeling like you can't breathe. Your body is trying to help you. So if you think when you're feeling that crazy heartbeat, like, oh my God, this is hurting me, I'm going to have a heart attack. Yeah, it's going to start leading you down that road. But if you feel like, okay, my body's just trying to give me energy to handle this and it's going to be okay, you're going to be far better off. And also remember too, that even though stress stinks and it's so hard, good things do come out of it, right? I do believe that there's always good in it. And it helps us be more resilient, helps us grow and evolve as people and change. So thinking back to something really stressful in your life, what did you learn from it? And how did it make you better? How did you make lemonade? And use the strengths that you gained from that to help you now. So today's culture is often pessimistic. And yes, that's because in the caveman days, our brain was hardwired to be looking for danger. Where was the tiger hiding in the bushes so that we could be safe and keep living? Today, we don't have tigers hiding in the bushes, but our brain is still hardwired to be looking for what is negative. So know that if you're always looking for what's negative, it's not your fault. It's just how your brain is hardwired. And it usually takes 3 to 5 positive thoughts to neutralize the negative one. So we can change what we're noticing in our viewpoint, but it does take work. Gratitude. I think this is one of the best things that I did for myself during that time off. At least think of a minimum of 3 per day. And you'll notice in the picture right there, that's a 5-minute journal. It's just one journal. There are so many out there, but it's one that I love that's worked for me because really it takes less than 5 minutes. You do a little bit in the morning when you wake up and a little bit right before bed. And it will prompt you to think about what you're grateful for. Know that most of us have a negative shaming inner voice, and that's natural because of how our brain is wired. But also know that research has proven that kindness actually motivates us better. So if I'm really honest with you, what I would call myself in my head, how I would treat myself is I would never say that to someone else. I would never say that to my daughter or my students. And so that was one of the biggest things that I changed is I'm kind to myself and my brain when I mess up. And that soothing, kind voice leads to less anxiety, less depression, a greater peace of mind. So it's like a pep talk. And so I just really try to talk to myself as if I were my daughter or a student. And so it's like, oh, you'll get it next time. It's okay. Right? It makes a difference. Acceptance. Accept that we can't do all of the things all of the time. Radical acceptance around this pandemic and what it is right now, or even radical acceptance for how schools are and how, as teachers, we would want them to be different. I used to let things consume me. I used to be so, like, almost have so much anger inside for how things were when I didn't feel that they were fair. And I let that consume me. So now I'm trying to really save my energy for what is worth fighting for. And then I've found when I have acceptance around it, because I used to even go around saying, this is not happening, this is not happening. Now, when I accept it, I'm starting to see things open up, maybe opportunities that I didn't see before. I have a couple of mantras. These are my two favorites. This is happening for me. So even when it's something I don't want, or I didn't want to happen, I didn't expect it. And I try to think, okay, how is this happening for me? And even with all the sadness and the tough times in my life, I do think it's made me better. And now I am grateful for it. It took me a while to get there, but thinking that the universe has your back, that helps me feel better. And it helps me look for the good in the tough things. The other thing I often say is, what's great about this? So when things are hard, I'm looking for the opportunity. I'm looking for the goodness. Sometimes I have to dig deep, but it does help me. And then know that you don't have time for all things, but you have time for some things. So thinking about what are the most important things and work on letting things go and dropping the need for perfection. You're not perfect. None of us are. We're human, but we need to love ourselves anyway and approve of ourselves, even if we're not getting all those things done. So changing our mindset to focusing on what is most important is going to help us get those things done. Game changers. These are things that I did with not a lot of effort, but they made huge changes in my life. So gratitude, I've already mentioned it, but even when I was at my worst and feeling depressed and I did not have time to write in a journal, I would just simply try to think of 3 things as soon as I woke up and 3 things that I was grateful for when I was putting my head on the pillow going to sleep, and try to make them really specific. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm grateful for my cat, my dog, and my job. Yes, that's great to be grateful for those things, but you want to kind of prime your brain to be looking for the good during the day. So the other day I was driving home, and I think in New Hampshire right now, everything is brown and gray. And so there was a stunning sunset. The sky was like really cool pink. That was one of my things because it just made me happy. I feel like there's not a lot of color right now. So little things like that, where you can be specific and grateful. And then your brain is looking for those. So you're looking for the good. Affirmations. I never used to do these. I thought they were kind of weird. Now they're everywhere. That is literally a picture of a door in my bathroom and my desk. They're everywhere. My world just feels better when my brain is happy and positive, and it snowballs. I see the goodness. So like if I told you, oh, I've got a red Subaru, then you're going to, next time you go driving, you'll be like, wow, I'm seeing red Subarus everywhere. It's called the reticular activating system. And your brain just starts to see what you've been thinking about, right? You see examples everywhere. So if you're saying, oh, school is so hard, teaching stinks, I can't do it, you're going to see examples of that. But if your brain is thinking, so these are some of mine, how is it that I'm so lucky in life? I love my life. I am loved. I'm willing to change and to grow. I am always supported. I'm going to see examples of those everywhere. And that makes me feel better. And posting them everywhere, it gets into your subconscious because you're rereading it again and again. I even literally have them in my shower. I put them on a 3x5 card or a sticky note in a sandwich bag, and then I taped it up. And so I'm literally seeing them in the shower. Meditation. Meditation can provide your nervous system rest that is 5 times deeper than sleep. Isn't that amazing? So you don't need to take a fancy class or do anything special. One, there's a lot of free apps out there. Insight Timer is my favorite. There are some wonderfully well-written guided meditations that you can just use and they'll walk you through it. But I want to prove to you that you don't need a lot of time or know-how. Even just 1 minute makes a difference. So for right now, I'm just going to pull up my phone and time us for 1 minute. And so maybe just, if you feel comfortable, just put your pen down, your paper, just wiggle in your seat a little bit, feel grounded, maybe roll your shoulders up and back. And if it feels okay to you, close your eyes and just take a big deep breath in and out. And now for the next minute, just count your exhales. So breathe in normally and exhale and just count that as 1. And know that when your mind starts to wander, because you're human, yay, it will, that's okay. Just gently bring it back without judgment. Don't beat yourself up or be tough on yourself. Just know what's going to happen. But that's where the strength comes, and to keep bringing back that focus. And that's 1 minute. So just take one more big deep breath in and let it all out. So everybody's got 1 minute. It really will make a difference. Yes, in an ideal world, I would love for you to do more than that each day, but 1 minute will help you, or can help you. Morning and evening routine. This can be a great way, even just taking 10 minutes, but it sets the tone for your day. So it gives you momentum, right? You're starting the day how you want rather than hitting snooze, then rushing, right? And trying to just get out of the house. So think about what you'd like to do. What would start your day off well? And then know that keep doing that routine. Sometimes it takes up to 66 times to make it to where it's a habit, where you don't even have to think about it anymore every morning or every evening, but then it will become a habit. The next game changer, stop multitasking and try to focus on one thing and give the Pomodoro method a shot. Pomodoro is the Italian word for tomato. And it started with a graduate student who was feeling overwhelmed. It was the 80s and he thought, like, I'm not getting anything done, but I just need to focus. And he had one of those kitchen timers that looked like a tomato. And so he just said it, I want to say the first time it was like 10 minutes. And he's like, all right, I'm just going to focus and really hit it hard for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to give myself a break. He did it and it worked because his brain was looking forward to the break and he knew he only had to sustain it for 10 minutes. So since then, he's written a book and a lot of people have tried it and there's been a ton of research on it. And it's so cool because studies have proven that it works. You're more efficient and your body is more rested and can go longer, getting more done. So I once worked with a client last year. She was a teacher who was amazing and gave so much of herself. And every night she would do her correcting and planning up until about 11 o'clock. And one night she actually fell asleep in the middle of correcting papers. And so we talked about that. And her intentions were so good to be there for those kids and to give them her everything. But if we're really honest, when she was correcting that last paper, was she really thinking or giving that kid the best feedback she could? Probably not, right? And she was so tired, clearly in need of sleep. So we talked about the Pomodoro method and made changes there. Another client of mine, she taught 4th grade. She loved it so much and had success with it in her personal life that she found a small article and shared it with her 4th graders. They loved it. And then they incorporated it into their class. They would do that. They would set a timer and they'd be like, okay, we're going to work hard. And readers workshop or writers workshop, whatever it was, work hard and then take a break and celebrate with a quick game or a movement break, something like that. Getting to bed earlier. That is tough, right? But it's going to ensure that it's easier to get up and start your day and make your day count. So setting an alarm. I have one at night where I set it and it's crickets because I don't want it to be like that kind of morning alarm that's jarring, that just doesn't sound good. Eating That Frog. It's a book by Brian Tracy, and it's a concept of just doing the hard thing first in your day. So when you're doing your to-do list, find out what your frog is. What is something that you're dreading or that feels really big, overwhelming, maybe you don't want to do it? That's your frog. And decide that you're going to get rid of it and do it and knock it out first thing. Then you're not wasting that energy dreading it, and you feel good and have that momentum because you got it done. Lastly, pay attention to your body. Notice how you're feeling, your energy. Several times a day, just connect in. I was in so much pain. I was kind of honestly trying to detach from my body and not feel it. And I felt that the pain I felt was my enemy. The exhaustion I felt was my enemy. And really, it's our body giving us the answers we need. So here's another tool that you can use, right? You can do this during the day, before bed, but it's just a check-in called a progressive body scan. It's from yoga. So maybe you've done this in a yoga class. But again, if you feel okay, just put your pen down and sit back in your chair, wiggle in your seat for a minute just so you feel grounded, and then check in. So let's start with the top of your head. Feel the top of your head. Check in with your eyes, your scalp, maybe your neck, maybe your jaw. See how it feels without judgment. Just notice. Maybe breathe into that and bring some softness, some relaxation. And check in with your shoulders, your lungs. How's your breathing? How's your core? How does your stomach feel? Just observe. Don't judge it. And try to just breathe into it. Maybe bring some softness, some relaxation. Next, keep going down. Check in with your legs, your thighs, your calves, your feet, your arms. If you haven't done that, your hands. How are those feeling? Are they relaxed? Is there any pain associated with them? Emotion? Just notice it, observe it. Thank it for sending you a message. And then just try to breathe into it and bring some softness and relaxation. And then just take a big, deep breath in. Let it go. And what did that take? Not even a minute, right? But we're just checking in because our body does give us messages. But often we're just too busy to notice. The 6 Ps. I had a friend in college that used to say this, and it cracked me up, but it's true. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. So if you can prepare, or have this as maybe a goal, this has the potential to really change your week for you. So we talked about the bedtime before, but prioritizing sleep, setting an alarm, or also there are lights that you can set so they change at a certain time. So then it's more soothing, like getting your mind ready for bed. And then calling that next time, that next hour, your power down hour. So brush your teeth, put on PJs, light a candle. That's time to write in a journal or read. And know that when you don't get enough sleep, it actually puts you at a cognitive level equal to when you've been drinking over the legal limit for alcohol. A lot of us, we would never show up to work drinking, right? But we're often showing up with little sleep. So it really makes a difference, prioritizing that, getting all of the environment ready for sleep. So what does your room look like? Is it cluttered with papers, the things that are going to distract you? What's the temperature like? Your room should be between 60 and 67 degrees at night. So can you set the thermostat so it naturally does that? And try to stay off social media for that last hour. It's the blue light emitted that tells our brain that it's daylight. So it's harder to fall asleep and harder to stay asleep, right? And then plus, if we see something that's kind of upsetting, that can play with our head. For the morning, again, having a routine, write it out. What would you like your morning to be? I wake up and I drink water with lemon in it. I stretch, no fancy yoga poses. I just stretch what feels good. A minute of journaling to get those thoughts and feelings out. Maybe a minute of meditation. How about energizing music when you're in the shower or visualizing your goals? It can really set the tone for your day. batching. So at my trickiest point, right, every like night at like 6 o'clock, I'd be like, okay, I'd open the fridge, I'm hungry, and we've got ketchup, mustard, and chicken. There's no way you can make dinner with that. And it's like, it would surprise me night after night. I had this problem again and again. So could you do 5 simple meals on repeat? Even just starting with one that you know by heart that it's easy, it's healthy, you can do that. And think about batch cooking on Sundays. So before the pandemic started, I used to do this with my friend Jen. We would get together and we would cook. The biggest thing we focused on was vegetables. We would get a ton of them, rinse them, cut them up into small pieces, put them on cookie sheets, drizzle with olive oil, salt and pepper, and we'd bake them for about 45 minutes at 400, right? They come out so good. It kind of caramelizes, makes them a little bit crispy. We would have vegetables for lunches and dinners for the entire week. And it just saved us. We both liked it because it made our weeks easier, and it saved us a lot of stress, because then we never had that excuse. I don't have fresh veggies. They're ready to go. You can also do batching for work. So when I've had to teach remotely, I was trying to do like my planning all at once, because you get in that flow. So doing like-minded tasks back to back, because you're getting in the flow, you can do them all at once. How about doing recording for your lessons? Just change your shirt or whatever you need to do. But then you're like, okay, yeah, this is how Zoom works. You're kind of in the flow, so you can get more done. You can also do it if you're teaching face-to-face in person. Maybe that's when you go and you do all your copying at once, where you're just doing like-minded tasks to bang them out. Shopping. I do keep an app on my phone, and I try to keep my grocery list the same, right? Just so it's easy. I know what to get. I go every Sunday morning, and that way I'm not recreating the wheel each week. I will admit that I don't love having my Sundays devoted to this. It made it so much easier when I had a friend to do it with me, but the payoff is huge. I felt like it made my weeks easier. They would run more smoothly. I had more energy, and I would eat well. So it would save me getting mad at myself when I would make poor choices and then get mad and make more poor choices. Okay, boundaries. If you want things to be different, you've got to do different things. And to do more of one thing, say you want to do more healthy cooking, you've got to do less than of others. So I think really, to be a really good teacher, you can have all this natural skills and be so good with kids and know the curriculum, great. But to really be a good teacher, you've got to have good boundaries. So here are some ideas to help you out. Saying no to things that drain you. Saying no reduces stress and brings us closer to balance. I feel like teachers are always asked to do too much, join a committee, help after school. So if it helps you, practice saying no and buy yourself some time. Maybe your pat line can be like, let me think on that and I'll get back to you. And then you can think, is it really worth your time? Do you want to do it? And please stop staying late or stop saying yes because you feel like you should. I feel like the message we get sometimes from administration, even though they don't mean it, but when there's one more thing, it kind of sends the message that what you've been doing all along isn't good enough, and we expect more. We want you to change. So trying to think, how can we work smarter, not harder? I will say last year when the pandemic started and everyone had to go remote, the clients that I worked with that were the happiest teaching remotely were the ones who divided up the workload amongst their colleagues of that grade level and shared. So one teacher would take math, one teacher would take reading, and they would do all those lessons and share them amongst the grade. And they felt more balanced. They felt like they were working together as a team. They weren't doing it alone. And it's also okay to see teaching as a job, even if you look at it like that for just this year. For so long, I thought about it as my career and what legacy I was leaving behind, but I was killing myself in the process and then not able to help others. So that wasn't working. How about saying yes to the things you love? What excites you, lifts you up, makes you happier, healthier? Choosing you and saying yes to the things that are going to help you. Weekends, they're for friends, family, hobbies, you, not work. What can you cut? So are you still volunteering like I was? Are you trying to kill yourself on the weekend to do things like paint a hall or something, maybe things that don't need to be done? One thing I had a hard time letting go was photo albums. I love pictures. I want my daughter to look back and see all the cool things we've done. But the more I put it off, the more pictures I took, and that task got bigger. And then I was beating myself up because shouldn't have the photo albums to look at, and I hadn't done anything, and just the task seemed overwhelming. So what I've decided is I'm letting it go, and I'm not going to do it until she's in college, because then I'm going to be missing her anyway, and I'll be really happy to look at the pictures then. So I've cut that, and I feel better about it now. But for a long time, that was really stressing me out. So where are you losing energy, and what can you cut and just let go of for now? Making decisions faster, I would perseverate and analyze it so much and lose energy. So can you make a decision faster and then just trust it that you made your best decision and go with it? We lose energy when we perseverate. Can you schedule in time for yourself? You don't need to tell anyone what you're doing when you're leaving work. Call it PT. Your doctor says you have to do PT, and maybe it's you going for a walk. Social media, this is a tricky one, especially now. We need to stay connected, but for me, I've lost so much time just scrolling. So there are apps to monitor it, but then also, again, checking in with yourself. How do you feel afterwards? And remember that it's a curated version of someone's life. So is it worth your time if you're feeling overwhelmed? Rumination, that's when you're perseverating on something, you're just spiraling, you keep thinking about it, you're worrying, but you're not even at work, right? There's a fabulous TED Talk by Guy Winch. He's a psychologist. And he says there are several things you can do. One, figure out when you're leaving for the day and honor that time. Stick to it. Switch off notifications. Don't check your email. Train the parents of the kids in your class that you're not going to answer emails at night, and you'll get back to them next morning, but that's the time for it. Think about changing the lights in your house. That's actually a picture of my kitchen, and my kitchen is white and gray, but I have lights that you can change the color with them, and it's just so fun. That definitely does not look like a school, and that makes me happy. Your brain falls for those little tricks where you're showing that you're changing it up, that you're not working. You could also change your clothes, have sweatpants. That's what you get when you wear when you're at home, you're out of work. The biggest thing is you can change your ruminating thoughts to something that you can then put to bed. So for example, if you're worrying about a student, and like last week I was worrying about a student in her speech specifically, and I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. There's something, I'm not understanding her. And I was worried, am I doing my best for her? So instead, I got out my calendar for the next day and I put it in, and I'm like, okay, during my prep, I have this time. I'm either going to go talk to the speech path in person, or I'm going to email her. And so then I could put that worry to bed. Like, okay, I was going to handle it later, and I made time to do it. Next one, upping your health game. These are some ideas to try to, at the core, make you feel better, make your body feel better. So water. Are you drinking water first thing when you wake up? Hopefully you've been asleep for 8 hours. Your body's dehydrated. It hasn't had water all night. And know that most people are not drinking enough water throughout the day anyway. You want to drink half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you want to drink about 75 ounces of water per day. Fruits and veggies. Most people are not getting enough. So could you even just commit to having veggies at every meal, or just having more veggies? One way I've done this is I have a smoothie every morning, and so I put spinach in it. I promise you I do not even taste the spinach. So it's simply almond milk, banana, spinach, protein powder, and then I blend that. That's the trick. Blend all of the refrigerated things first before you add anything frozen. And so then it gets the spinach so tiny, you barely even see it, you don't taste it, and then add like frozen blueberries or something to make it thicker. But it's good. Also think about when you're shopping the perimeter of the store. You don't want the processed stuff in the middle with the additives and the chemicals. You want the things that are perishable on the outside. Think about limiting takeout or fast food. You want to try to process foods. You want to try to decrease that when you can. Sleep. Deepak Chopra says that the most efficient way to improve your well-being is through sleep. It's how your body heals. Movement. Think back to when you were little, maybe when you would go outside and play. What brought you joy? What did you do? Even 10 minutes a day of moving will help your stress. And thinking about it in that way, like not necessarily getting in shape, but when you're moving your body, it's going to help with your stress. Also know that if you're teaching at home, sitting is really the new smoking. So if you are teaching remotely, make sure you get up and take those breaks. Encourage your kids to do the same and really just go for a walk around the block, stretch, but trying not to sit all day. Connection, we need it more than ever. One fun thing I do now, I heard this from someone else and I don't remember who, but they said to put a strawberry emoji next to your friends' names in context in your phone. So when you've got 10 minutes in the search bar, you just put in a strawberry and it pulls up all those friends, people that your heart feels good whenever you talk to them. And it doesn't matter if a month has gone by or 6 months, you still love each other and it's good. Right. So when I've got 10 minutes, I'll put in the strawberry and then they're like, oh, who haven't I talked to? I haven't talked to Mel or Jen in a long time. And then you can reach out. And also with people, notice if there's people in your life that your energy feels drained when you leave them. Just become aware of that. Is there some toxic energy there? And try to lessen that. Again, it's always prioritizing you, choosing you. Sugar, we get too much of it. It's in everything. It's in bacon to ketchup. So I definitely believe in moderation. I have sugar in my life, even though I'm a health coach. I do try to limit it. And when I have it, I try not to feel guilty and I try to really enjoy those desserts. But when I'm craving something sweet, maybe think about swapping out fruit or tea. There's so many great teas that you don't even need honey. They taste so good and so sweet. I also have dark chocolate, and that helps me not crave more chocolate. I think it's 70%. It's good. Quiet. So knowing yourself, what do you need? I had one client I worked with last year. She was a teacher she was an introvert, had many kids of her own, and then had a big class. And she just felt that her whole day was loud, busy, fast, always on the run. And so for her, a huge change was waking up 10 minutes earlier. And she didn't even push herself to meditate. She just wanted to sit. And so she would go outside if it was nice. Sometimes she would meditate, but for her, she just felt better having that quiet time. Nature. There's so many studies on how good nature is for us, how healing it is. And even just 30 minutes a week makes a huge difference. So the key here is to connect with your senses. Go outside and really try to be where you are. So you're noticing, you're looking around. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? And every time your mind will wander, that's okay. Yeah, you're human. Just bring it back and just keep focusing. Having a better school day. So these are some ideas that are all about being intentional about integrating joy, connection, love, fun, laughter, happiness into your day. We have in Portsmouth a COVID screening that truthfully drove me nuts for a long time because I felt like, you should trust me. I'm with kids all day. Trust me that I'm not going to come to work sick, right? And there's a lot of questions. So it would take time and you got spoken to if you didn't do it. I had to reframe it. So I set that intention when I'm doing that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to play your game. I'll do that. I know you need to have that. But then I'm setting the intention, okay, I'm going to focus on myself today and I'm going to focus on keeping balance in my health. So is there anything that you could reframe that's driving you nuts right now? For your commute, how about some good influences like a positive podcast, books on Audible, or maybe even if it's just cranking the music. I like to flood my brain with the positive thinking, with learning new books. Then I feel better before I've even gotten to work. Lunch, so important, right? We learned about the Pomodoro method, how we feel better with breaks. So you need this lunch. So eat mindfully, enjoy it. Don't skip it. And do the math on this, right? If you work through your lunch for like 18, 20 years, and you take a 20-minute lunch every day, but you don't take that, that's like 2 years working for free for your school district where they don't know about it. They're not going to thank you. You're certainly not going to get paid. And you've lost that time. You need that. So trying to eat mindfully, really tasting your food, sitting outside, somehow enjoying it. Having fun with kids. So think back, we all became teachers because it's somehow, some point we loved school, right? So what did you like when you were in school? Was it a teacher that had a treasure box, or teachers that played games, that did projects, hands-on projects? Maybe they played music in class. Maybe it's a teacher that gave you a lot of choice. What could you do so you have more fun with your kids? And if you're teaching from home, think about having a separate space. Is there a corner where you can teach from? So the rest of your day, when it's on your time, you're not seeing the papers and all of the work. If you're in person, like we are trying to be, how about having a nicer area? So think about, I love scents, right? I love to have things smell good. So I have lotion on my desk that I put on my hands that I love. I have a diffuser with essential oils. Plants, seeing green things makes a difference. Posters. I teach kindergarten. My kids can't read yet, but I have you see good vibes only. That's for me, right? It just reminds me to be more positive and focus on that. And a happier teacher makes for happier kids. Breath work or stretching, schedule it in. I do it with my kindergartners, and remember, 1 minute makes a difference. So even with little kids, they can understand belly breathing. They can put their hands on their belly and just feel it rise and fall, and know that that's how your body goes into the parasympathetic nervous system. That's how your body heals. It's the rest and digest part, right? So what a difference. Imagine if you're able to do that every time before you ate, just a minute of belly breathing, or a minute of belly breathing before a Zoom call or before a meeting, right? It's going to make you centered, make you feel better. Creating a culture of caring. Maybe it's having a birthday list and knowing your colleagues' birthdays. Maybe it's a silly game of trash ball. We literally had trash ball. Started with chart paper, we crumpled up. Someone didn't make a shot, someone did. Keeping tally marks, getting other people to join in, having it like every Friday. Or funny things in your bathroom. You see in the upper right, that's literally our bathroom. And they're all super funny little things. Like the first 5 days after the weekend are always the hardest. Or the first weeks of school are like giving birth. It's so hard. Your mind blocks it out. So you do it again next year, right? I love going to the bathroom. It makes me smile. What about also celebrating wins at work, right? Celebrating having gratitude for when things go well and noticing when you've done something that's good. So it's like a yay me. Even that is a little bit of dopamine for your brain. And so your mind is going to be like, okay, I like that. That was really good. What can we do to have that feeling again? Filling your cup. So these are things trying to make you feel better, right? Little gifts for yourself. I love to buy myself flowers. Laughter. Stand up on Netflix. It makes me laugh so much. How about a hobby? When's the last time you got creative? Whether it's beading, painting, drawing. How can you make your life easier? Maybe it's springing for cleaners. Maybe it's not beating yourself up if you need to get takeout. Maybe it's showering at night if mornings are hard. A mindful walk. Don't underestimate the power of nature. And remember, just pay attention to your senses. A quick walk will do it. Turning off the news. This is important for me, especially lately. I feel like it's just I feel drained when I watch it, and I want to be informed. I want to know what's going on, but I decided for me that it was better reading it. I didn't feel the emotional toll. And so I get something called the Skim, SKIMM, and they're actually pretty funny, and they're honest with you. If they have an investor that could be a conflict with a story, they say it right in it. So I feel better, and I have that in the morning, so I know what's going on, but it's quite different than watching the news. And a dream board. I do this every January, just cutting out things that make you feel good that you want in your life. So mine are about things I want to work towards, like travel, more kayaking, seeing the northern lights. I'm happier when I look at them and I dream about them. To make lasting changes. So you want to remember what you're working on. And when you're changing things, it's hard, right? Your body's going to go back to what you've known. So I put sticky notes everywhere of what I'm working on, or I put a connection with pictures of my daughter. Like, okay, that I want to be healthy to be there for her. So every time I see a picture of her, I'm reminded, oh yeah, those are my goals. Remember to be flexible. So inevitably, when you're trying to do something new, there might be failure, but don't call it failure, because you can learn from it and tweak it. It's actually a gift, because then you're going to be able to find something that works. So just have the attitude that, yeah, it might be tricky. You might fall down, but stick with it, change it up. And know that over time, your rituals will become habits. You're making new neural pathways, but sometimes it does take up to 66 days. So tracking it can really help with that. Just grid paper and just a check mark. Yep, I did it today. I did that morning routine. Your brain likes that check mark because it wants to keep seeing that. It's a hit of dopamine. Habit stacking, it's just stacking the new habit that you want onto one you're already doing. So if you want to start taking a vitamin every day and you keep forgetting, put it next to your toothbrush. When you go to brush your teeth, you'll be like, oh yeah, I gotta take my vitamin. And then it's gonna stick for you. Tell someone. So even if it's Facebook, accountability makes a difference. It's one of the reasons I think that having a health coach for me made such a difference, because every week she was checking in with me to see if I'd followed through. I had to talk to her about that. It was the push I needed. So get support. Maybe it's a teacher buddy that you could check in with weekly. Lean into your teaching community or find one. I've got one I'd love for you to join. It's free. Of course, it'll always be free. It's on Facebook, so you can check it out from my website, www.wellnesslemonade.com. And I just try to put in healthy reminders and like, here's a wellness tip. And it's also a place for teachers to vent, ask questions of one another, not feel alone, right? The community can help us feel better. And know that it's totally okay to ask for help. I had to do something different. I didn't have the tools. I'd been teaching for almost 20 years, but didn't know how to take care of myself in some pretty basic ways. So it's really one of the things that dug me out. So don't feel bad about that, because administration, from their viewpoint, they just need things to keep getting better. They need to be accountable to the school board and the citizens. So they're going to keep pushing. We need to advocate for ourselves and ask for help and figure out the tools that we don't know. So maybe it's a new doctor, maybe it's a nutritionist, maybe a health coach. Here are some sweet things to just offer you some hope. I didn't put, when I've worked with clients, I've asked them to write something if that feels good, and I haven't put in everything because some of it's really personal, but I want you to see that it can make a difference. So I'm so grateful I was able to have this opportunity. I'm feeling wonderful momentum. Someone said this was life-changing. Someone else said that I helped them make the necessary changes to be healthier and happier. And a happier them makes for a happier family and happier students. It's been such a gift. I'm so grateful to help other people try to avoid what I went through. This person was completely overwhelmed and possibly going to have a breakdown if we hadn't worked together. So it is possible to change and have things feel better. I've seen it with me, with my clients. It is possible. And what I've shared today is just the tip of the iceberg. So if any of this is hitting home and you might need help and you're serious about making changes, I would love to help in whatever manner I can. So joining my group, checking out my website, message me directly. For coaching, I only have a couple one-on-one coaching slots now because I am teaching full time. But in the summer, I do a lot of group coaching and I have more slots that are opening up. Follow me on Instagram. And if you need me, I'll be there. So feel free to reach out. So for today, skim back over what you've written down. What's one small thing that you heard today that would have a big impact on your wellness? So think about, is that something, when can you do it? Timestamp it. Can you do it tonight? This coming weekend? And let me know what you choose. I'd love to hear from you. Join the Facebook community. Tell me in there. Best of luck. I'm truly cheering you on and wishing you health and happiness.